Hey guys, Dylan from the Geek Duo here, and today I'll be bringing you my Hero Academia Chapter 315 read-through. Now, before I get started on this read-through, the site that I use for the chapters has changed the way in which they're going to be releasing them from week to week. By this I mean they're now releasing 2 versions of the chapter per week. There's one from the translator company that they've been getting their translations from before I started doing these videos, and the original translator that this site used has returned. So this week I'm going to be giving the original translator's version a go, see how it feels and flows with their translation, and then from week to week I'm probably just going to be choosing the best one, or the one that I feel flows the best, and we'll see from there. So this chapter opens with Lady Nagant and Overhaul in a clothing store after their escape from Tartarus. Overhaul says, "I know that kid." "What?" He was the one who ruined my plans. One of those delusional heroes." "Huh. You're more useful than I thought. Maybe it's fate. I'll take you so you can help me scout and confirm our target. I have one condition. I'm not about to let you settle the score with him or anything. No, that's not it. I lost everything. The only thing I have left is... Please, take me to him. My father. I need to make amends." I love how, as she's just talking to him, she's judging the fact that he's got a small frame for the shirts. It then jumps back to present time with Lady Nagant aiming her rifle at Overhaul. "I did what you asked me to. Now hurry up and take me to him." "My rifle's become swollen. He might jam." This is a scenario that the hero education field hates the most, since anyone dying on a student's watch will weigh on their conscience heavily. She fires a bullet towards Overhaul, and she thinks, in that moment of panic, you'll hesitate and freeze up. That's when I'll take you. But Midoriya, he doesn't freeze. By the time she's fired the bullet, he's already severed the black whip he was using to grapple towards her, latch onto the building beside him, and swing round in the same trajectory as the bullet. Quirk, Fajin. The user of this quirk generates potential energy from repeating movements to release as kinetic energy. So it was what I said. As he was activating, he was squatting and standing up to build up charge in his legs. While she was shooting at me, I constantly flexed my legs back and forth to reduce my cross section. Plus, all for one at 45%. Plus, centrifugal force. We learnt this in school. To mimic All Might's speed that could exceed that of a bullet. Knock off all for one, 100%. No way. He caught up to that bullet? No. He surpassed it. The moment he realized I pointed it at Chizaki, he already was moving towards him. "I'll get back to you, Chizaki." He shoots Black Whip from each hand, latching onto the side of the building, and then slingshots his way towards Nagant, and the third vestige appears behind him. "Just before, you've used all for one at 45%, along with Danger Sense, Smoke Screen, Black Whip, and Fajin at the same time. As a result, your focus became too split and your movement slowed. You've learned that lesson now, and now you've reduced your workload to One for All, Black Whip, and Fajin. Not to mention, you still have some energy stored up in your other leg. Nagant is trying to use Airwalk to get away from Midoriya and is attempting to reload her rifle to get added thrust, but Midoriya, he uses the built-up charge in his leg to throw a knockoff 100% Manchester smash right into Lady Nagant's rifle. I've disabled your gun arm. This is the end for you, Lady Nagant. Without hesitation, like it was instinct. Even though he knew he was an enemy, he saved him as if it was so obvious. Suddenly, Lady Nagant's airwalk quirk stops working, and she begins to fall. As she's falling, she thinks, I wonder when it was when I began to resent that career, to the point of despising it. Luckily for her, Midoriya is there, floating, and grabs her hand. The bullet you shot at Chizaki, it would have only grazed him anyway. I don't believe you're really on All for One's side. If you were, you would have paralyzed me back with your first attack. You've experienced the darkness, and now it's time for you to shine that light, isn't it? Fight with me, Lady Nagant. I know that you still are a hero at heart. What the hell? Midoriya Izuku, you're just so
gullible. Hearts can be swindled so easily, which is why I've set up countermeasures in the event of a failure in this agreement.
As Lady Nagant was beginning to call Midoriya a true hero, cracks start appearing all over her face, and the next thing we see, away from All for One's cameo, is an explosion. Nagant!
In the end, you are nothing more than a mere tool to further the goal of others. Whether or not you are subject to myself or the Hero Commission, you pitiful, pitiful object.
Don't die on me yet, Nagant-senpai. Dancing in the palm of the greatest evil, resist. The chapter ends with All for One gloating and Nagant's burnt body falling from the sky, and suddenly there are feathers surrounding her and Hawks is leaping to catch her. He may only have little nubs on his back at the moment, but he was able to get there and into the air enough to catch her from falling. Which does prove that what I've been saying with Hawks' wings have grown back. But this chapter raises a few questions. One, it's fairly obvious at this point that All for One has some future sight. Like, he planned to get captured. He planned for Shigaraki to inhabit his power and then lose, be beaten so much that he could take over his body and have two bodies to control. He saw that Nagant was there, and he knew that Midoriya would be leaving UA and be with top heroes, All Might, Best Jeanist, Endeavor, and Hawks. And he specifically told Nagant to go after Midoriya on a night when it was raining, which he did. But another thing he seemingly did know was that Nagant was going to switch sides with Midoriya. And so I'm not sure whether he placed a remote explosive on her or snuck an explosive quirk into her. By remote explosive, I mean he used the quirk that he had when he touched her to make her into a bomb, sort of like Curious. Or if he just created an explosion quirk inside her. But he knew that she would be very close to Midoriya and she would have a heart turn, which he could see from his quirk factor being inside Lady Nagant, linking her body to his body, to sort of like how All Might is linked to Midoriya through the quirk factor. And so he could use the right time to explode Nagant directly next to Midoriya. So we've never been explicitly told that All For One has this future sight, but it's fairly obvious. And it just makes him all the more formidable, because how do you fight someone who can see everything you're going to do? I mean, I'm going to have to assume that it's a certain Night Eye situation in which the future he sees cannot be avoided. But Night Eye, he only lost that fight against Chizaki because there was no other way for the future to go. And every other opponent we see him go up against, he dodges their attacks easily. He even does that to Midoriya. So if All For One can do that, the only time he's going to lose is if he wants to, or there's literally no other possible future. And yeah, that's just made this seem almost impossible from the hero's side. Even with Midoriya getting as powerful as he is, even with him turning some villains over to the hero side, even with the inevitability that Shigaraki will turn on All For One, it still seems impossible if All For One can see the future. Because who's to say he doesn't have the same explosion thing inside Shigaraki, and maybe he's got a healing quirk specifically that doesn't heal damage inflicted by one's own body. So an explosion coming from inside Shigaraki's body would not be able to be healed. That was a crackpot theory that just popped into my head. I don't know whether it's going to be true or not. It would be genius if it does become true, but who knows? I don't even think Horikoshi knows at this point. But yeah, this was a very interesting chapter. I said at the end of last week that Nagant will switch sides. I said I wasn't sure about Shizaki, but I had no illusions that Nagant would die a villain. So that's one for my predictions, but who knows how many others are going to come true. Anyway, with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, noticed anything in these panels that you thought were important and I didn't touch on, or that I touched on and got wrong, or you want to discuss the ways in which All For One's future sight quirk may work, comment them down below. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one.